Have you ever shown up at the airport thinking everything is the same as last year, only to suddenly realize the rules have completely changed? Imagine standing in line, passport in hand, coffee in the other, feeling confident you're about to breeze through security, then bam, the agent tells you something totally unexpected. That exact moment is happening to thousands of travelers right now because airports around the world quietly rolled out a bunch of new rules in 2026. And honestly, some of them are pretty shocking. Now, don't get me wrong, air travel is still one of the coolest ways to explore the planet, but if you're not up to date on these new changes, your next airport trip could turn into a stressful mess real fast. So today, we're breaking down the brand new airport rules in 2026 that are surprising even frequent flyers. And trust me, some of these are going to make you say, wait, they can actually do that? Before we dive in, quick question for you. Have you flown anywhere in the last year? And if you did anything weird or different happen at the airport? Drop your experience in the comments, because travelers everywhere are noticing these changes. Alright, buckle up, because the first rule already has people arguing with security officers at airports across the globe. So here's the deal. Airports are starting to use something called biometric identity scanning in a much bigger way than before. Instead of showing your boarding pass and passport over and over again, cameras are now scanning your face at multiple checkpoints, security, boarding gates, and even bag drop. Sounds futuristic, right? Well, it kind of is. The idea is that your face becomes your ID, meaning you might not even need to pull out a passport at some airports anymore. But here's where people get surprised. Some travelers have discovered that if the system doesn't recognize you properly, it can slow everything down big time. Imagine standing there while the machine scans your face again and again and again, while the line behind you grows longer and longer. Yeah, not exactly the smooth travel experience you were expecting. And this leads to another big change that's catching travelers off guard in 2026. Digital boarding passes are becoming mandatory at certain airports. Yep, some airlines are quietly phasing out printed boarding passes altogether. That means if your phone dies, you could suddenly find yourself in a tricky situation. Frequent flyers are now saying the same thing. Always bring a portable charger when you travel, because if your phone battery hits zero, your boarding pass might disappear with it. Another new rule that's raising eyebrows is stricter carry-on baggage scanning. Now, before you panic, it's not that you can't bring your usual stuff, but security scanners in many airports have become way more advanced, using 3D imaging technology that allows officers to see inside your bag in crazy detail. In theory, this should speed things up since you don't have to remove laptops or liquids at some airports anymore. But here's the twist. Because the machines see everything more clearly, security officers are catching way more unusual items than before, and that means travelers are getting stopped for things they never expected would cause a problem. People have reported getting their bags searched for stuff like oddly shaped electronics, travel gadgets, or even large snack containers that the scanner flags as suspicious. It's not necessarily bad news, it just means security is looking closer than ever before. Now let's talk about something that's seriously surprising a lot of travelers in 2026: boarding gate behavior rules. Airlines have started enforcing stricter policies around when passengers are allowed to line up at the gate. You know how people usually crowd the boarding area 20 minutes early, hoping to sneak on the plane faster? Yeah, airports are trying to stop that. Some gates now ask passengers to stay seated until their boarding group is called, and gate agents are actually sending people back if they line up too early. It sounds small, but frequent travelers say it's changing the whole vibe of the boarding process. Instead of chaotic crowds near the gate, airlines are pushing for a more organized system, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing once you get used to it. But one of the biggest shocks for travelers in 2026 has to do with airport security wait times and something called dynamic security lanes. Basically, airports are now using AI systems that watch passenger traffic in real time. If a security line gets too long, the system automatically opens new lanes or redirects passengers to different checkpoints. On paper, this sounds amazing, but some travelers say it can be confusing because staff might suddenly send you to a completely different security area than the one you originally entered. Imagine walking halfway across the terminal just because the AI system decided another lane is faster. Yep, it's happening more often than you think. Now here's a rule change that's actually making a lot of travelers happy: faster passport control with e-gates. These automated gates scan your passport and face in seconds, letting you walk straight through immigration without talking to an officer. But here's the surprising part. Some airports are expanding this system so much that travelers barely interact with staff at all anymore. For some people, that's awesome. For others, it feels a little weird. After all, airports used to be full of human checkpoints. Now, machines are doing more of the work. And speaking of technology, airports in 2026 are also rolling out smarter baggage tracking systems. Airlines are using digital bag tags and real-time tracking apps so passengers can see exactly where their luggage is at any moment. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the twist. Because the system tracks bags so precisely, airlines can also detect when passengers intentionally skip flights after checking luggage. Yep, that trick some travelers used to pull, checking a bag and then not boarding the plane, has become way harder to get away with. The system knows exactly what's happening. Another new rule travelers are noticing involves airport lounges. Lounges are tightening access rules, especially during busy travel seasons. Even if you have a membership or premium credit card, certain lounges now limit entry when they reach capacity. In other words, just because you're eligible doesn't guarantee you'll get in. Frequent flyers are learning to arrive earlier if they want lounge access before their flight. But now let's talk about something that's been trending on social media lately: airport liquid rules. For years, travelers had to follow the famous 311 rule for liquids in carry-on bags. But with the new advanced scanners rolling out in many airports, some locations are beginning to relax those restrictions. That means you might not have to pull out your tiny shampoo bottles anymore. Sounds amazing, right? Well, not every airport has the new scanners yet, so one airport might allow it while another still requires the old liquid rule. And that's exactly why travelers are getting confused. One flight feels super relaxed, and the next airport suddenly tells you to repack your bag. Yeah, welcome to travel in 2026. But here's a rule change that's surprising people even more: stricter behavior monitoring in terminals. Airports are using smarter surveillance systems designed to detect unusual behavior patterns. Now, before you imagine something out of a sci-fi movie, it's mostly about safety. The systems look for abandoned bags, suspicious movement, or people entering restricted areas. But some travelers say it feels like airports are becoming incredibly high-tech environments where almost everything is monitored. Another interesting change involves boarding groups. Airlines are experimenting with new boarding strategies designed to speed up the process and reduce aisle congestion. Instead of boarding from the front or back randomly, some airlines now board passengers in window seat rows first, followed by middle seats, then aisle seats. It sounds simple, but early tests show it can actually reduce boarding time significantly. And finally, there's one rule change that many travelers are still getting used to in 2026: stricter enforcement of carry-on size limits. Airlines have realized that oversized carry-ons slow down boarding and cause chaos in overhead bins, so more airports are placing measuring bins right at the gate. If your bag doesn't fit perfectly, you might have to check it on the spot. Frequent flyers say the key to avoiding this problem is using a slightly smaller carry-on than the maximum allowed size. It gives you a little margin of error if the airline decides to check. So yeah, airports in 2026 are definitely changing. Some of these new rules are making travel smoother, faster, and more high-tech than ever before, but others are catching travelers completely off guard. And the truth is, airports will probably keep evolving as technology improves and passenger numbers keep growing every year. The smartest travelers are the ones who stay informed and adapt quickly. So the next time you head to the airport, remember, things might not work exactly the way they did the last time you flew, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the future of travel arriving faster than most people expected. Now, I'm curious, out of all these new airport rules, which one surprised you the most? Was it the face scanning technology, the stricter carry-on checks, or the possibility of digital boarding passes replacing paper ones completely? Let me know down in the comments, because your experience might help other travelers avoid surprises on their next trip. And if you enjoyed discovering these changes in airport travel, go ahead and hit that like button and share this video with someone who's planning a trip soon, because trust me, knowing these new rules before you reach the airport could save you a lot of stress. And don't forget to subscribe to Golden Age Travel Tips, because we're always uncovering the smartest travel hacks, surprising airport secrets, and insider tips that make your journeys smoother, easier, and way more enjoyable. Safe travels, and I'll see you in the next adventure.